Now we're here for the next chapters of The Werewolf of Whistling Gulch. Heather Happenstance is Rockaway Pointe's girl about town and roving reporter. She's at it again as she joins an adventure to find the hairy man-beast terrorizing the beings of Whistling Gulch Retreat in the Forest of the Forbidden. She'll encounter multiple paramours, strange creatures, the Forest of the Forbidden bears, and her own inner secrets and shadows as she works with the newly appointed Ranger Haniford to solve the mystery of the beast and the strangely severed hand that weirdly resembles that of her ex-husband and rock star, Blaze Mulholland. And with that, we will jump into our next chapter, Chapter 4. So if you haven't yet started, there is a playlist for this audiobook on YouTube and on my podcast. I don't know if all podcasts have a playlist, but I know Spotify does. But anyway, here we go with Chapter 4, Around the Fire. As Heather awoke from her nap, a piece of paper was pushed under the door of her room. She got up and picked up the paper, which was a banner type of invitation for a fire circle and s'mores roasting later that night. Heather wasn't sure if this was the fire her spirit vision had been referring to, but she felt like roasting s'mores, so she decided to go. The mountain air was foggy and still chilly this night, as the week before had predicted an early spring, when Mr. Tansy, the mountain's cherished gerbil, had awoken on the morning of February 1st and rolled back over, pulling his little woolen blanket up and around his head. Whistling Gulch management made the call that this gesture by Mr. Tansy meant an early spring would arrive with warmer than usual air and many light showers. Heather wrapped herself in her green woolen cloak and made her way down to the fire circle at the back of the hotel grounds by the hot tub. As she passed the steamy hot tub, she heard voices. "Well, of course I love you," one voice said. The other voice whined, "Well, if you loved me, you'd be around more. You wouldn't go on so many of those business trips." The first voice cooed at the second. "You know I love you, babe," it said, as Heather blushed at having heard the encounter. She heard what sounded like kissing sounds and splashing in the water as she kept walking more briskly on to allow the pair to have their moment. Heather had dreamt of these types of moments with someone special around campfires, bonfires, hearth fires, and more, but so far she hadn't met that special someone. She'd busied herself with her work at Rockaway Pointe, or as Rockaway Pointe's girl about town, but sometimes she tired of always reporting on what all the others in town were up to, or who was romancing who from the town's elite and most admired. Oh well, she thought, maybe the voice would appear in the s'mores fire tonight and shed some light on this mysterious stranger. She reached the fire pit, where there were already several couples, a family with 2 little girls, and an old man helping an older lady in a wheelchair. Heather stood back for a moment and admired the love and caring with which the old man helped the wheelchair woman get her s'mores ingredients as he lovingly tucked the woman's coat around her to keep the chill out. He placed several marshmallows on a roasting stick and kissed the lady's cheek, handing her the stick. Heather got closer to everyone and looked into the fire. She was starting to feel a dreamy feeling come over her. She felt like sitting down, and as she did, the fire leapt up, the flames licking around the edge of the fire pit. At that moment, the people across the fire faded into the background as she looked into the flames and saw the outline of a face. But before she could make out if the face she saw resembled anyone real or imagined, a loud wolf howl went up from the mountains behind the hotel. The howl sounded several more times as the face and the flames disappeared, and the people around the fire pit cozied up, eating chocolatey s'mores and enjoying each other's company. Heather, feeling that the magic on the flames had faded, decided to wander out towards where she'd heard the wolf. "Be careful," she heard a voice in her mind. "This could get dangerous." "You again?" she answered back to the voice. "Why don't you show yourself and stop this telepathy game?" she said, feeling that this spirit was just playing with her. "I'll stop if you agree to have dinner with me tonight." "So you do exist in the real world?" she answered back. "Well, real world is rather loosely defined," the answer came back. "But yes, I do exist, and I'd really like to show you that," the voice said. Heather decided to call this spirit voice's bluff. "Show me right now," she demanded. "Are you human, or just another being from the other worlds?" "I'm both," the voice said. Meet me tonight at the witching hour. Bring 1 penny, a red rose, and a bottle of holy water." "What?" Heather answered in return. "That's very specific." "Yes, and soon you'll understand why," the voice said into her mind. "Tonight, at the witching hour," the voice said, "and I'll make everything known to you." And with that, Heather felt the transmission end. "But where are we supposed to meet?" She reached out with her mind. And what she heard whispered on the wind and through the song of the night owl was something along the lines of, "You will know me in the breath of air. You'll see me in the wind." Oddly unspecific, and again, rather mysterious, she thought, doubting that the voice of the spirit or human or whatever would actually show up anywhere. Oh, gosh. Sorry. I'm hearing the guide say something. Chapter 5, The Witching Hour. Heather had all the items that the spirit voice had asked her to bring. She'd gotten a penny from her wallet, which she may not have around much longer. She'd found a red rose at the gift shop of the hotel. It was so close to Valentine's Day that the gift shop had brought in many bouquets of flowers. Because, beings needed to say I love you through loving gestures I don't know what is going on with my voice today. Gestures like to use flowers for such things. Me too. Heather had a little bit of trouble with the holy water. But the retreat's concierge had suggested she walk out the back to a little trail that led to a small chapel on a very small piece of land. St. Winifred, one of my favorite saints, had been said to frequent this little parcel of land and had even blessed the small brook that ran through the land. In the 15th century, the small chapel had been built there, and the priest that looked over the chapel was at a residence there every weekend and on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Heather had entered the chapel after spending some time admiring the waters of the little babbling brook as it sang a watery song of blessing and fairy sparkles going along its merry way. The priest wasn't there when Heather walked in, and she filled a small bottle with the holy water that was freely given to anyone who wanted to take home a remembrance of the babbling brook water and the chapel's blessing over it. And now, with her 3 items in a small rucksack, she waited for anything that might tell her where she was supposed to meet the spirit stranger. At 12:30, she was about to give up the waiting when she heard a door open that led out to the back terrace of the resort. She had been sitting outside by the fire pit again, warming herself, and was just about to go up to her room. "See any good movies lately?" she heard a man's voice say into her mind. She turned to look around, but there was no one in sight. "Place the penny in the water of the wishing well and make a wish," the man's voice said into her mind. "Make it a good one, because this one counts 3 times over a normal wish." The hotel had a wishing well out by the entrance to the small grove of trees, where one could sit at the table set up there and play a game of cards, or checkers, or maybe backgammon. Heather went to the little well. She opened her rucksack and took out the penny. She opened her mind and wondered what her most important wish was. It took a moment, but she finally decided that what she wanted more than anything else was someone to share her life with. That wasn't too much to ask, she wondered, was it? "Don't overthink this," the man's voice said into her mind. "Just throw it. Throw in the coin. Just wish." Heather made her wish, kissed the penny, and tossed it in the well. "Okay, now what?" she asked out loud. "Now," the male voice said, "take the red rose and offer it to our love." "But I don't know who you are," she sighed, getting frightened with the game. "But I know who you are," the voice said, "and I've loved you from afar for so long now. Isn't that enough for you to want to love me too?" "I'm not sure," Heather said. "I've never seen you, and I don't know anything about you." She stammered, wondering if the love of her life was really just a ghost. Yeah, maybe just a ghost who'd never materialize into the human being she thought she needed to make her world more magical. "I would have to get to know you more before I pledged anything to you," Heather said into the night. "Well, let's get started getting to know each other then," the voice said out loud this time. Heather started as a man stepped out of the shadows. He moved into the moonlight of the witching hour, and Heather started again. "And now let's take the holy water," the man said out loud, "and let's bless our union." "But I don't know anything about you," Heather said, wondering how this stranger could have been speaking to her in her mind and now was in front of her under the moonlight. "By the witching hour at the Beltane fire, you will know everything you need to know about me," he said, and then you will bless our union by the anointing of the holy water." "Well, maybe," Heather said, slightly nervous because this stranger was very handsome and seemed very powerful. "I guess that remains to be seen. I mean, I don't even know your name, and the Beltane fire is only 2 months away. I don't know if that's enough time to get to know anyone," she surmised. "Well, we better get started then," the man said. "My name's Tristan." And as Tristan offered his hand to shake Heather's, a scream went up into the forest, and then a howl so deep and powerful penetrated the night as Tristan and Heather stood hand in hand under the full moon's light. Chapter 6. Isn't she lovely? Heather was the first to break the handshake. It wasn't really a formal handshake, but rather more like a lord ready to take the lady's hand and help her over the puddle where he'd placed his riding cloak. Very chivalrous, Heather thought as she eyed Tristan's riding gear, leather riding pants and a dark maroon velvet blazer, along with the tall brown leather riding boots. His eyes sparkled a ghostly blue-green. "Should we find out what all the fuss is about?" Tristan said, releasing his gaze upon her. The twinkling she'd felt in her heart when their eyes met went away, and she recalled that a moment ago a shrill and terrifying scream had gone up from the forest. At that, the hotel's security guard rushed past with a duffel bag. "Someone's been hurt up in the mountain," he chuffed, upset about being pulled out of his dream to answer the call he'd received from the mountain ranger station. "Looks like it's all hands on deck," Tristan said, eyeing Heather again. Was she nervous, he wondered? He could have that effect on people. Heather took her camera from her purse and, forgetting all about the coins, flowers, holy water, and whatever else Tristan had up his sleeve, started to run after the security guard first responder. Tristan could feel that Heather was preoccupied with something and decided he'd follow along to see if he could be of any help. They all got to a clearing in the woods about the same time. The scene in the clearing was nothing short of a horoscope. The tattered clothing of the girl who'd screamed was lying about as her naked form was huddled on the ground. He attacked me," she said, sounding more angry than afraid. That person, or whatever it was, attacked me." The mountain ranger wrapped a silver blanket around the girl's shoulders. She shivered in the spring air. "Miss, what are you doing out on the mountain so late?" the ranger asked. Heather and Tristan stood watching the scene, wondering how they could step in and assist. Heather grabbed her voice recorder. "I'm Heather Happenstance with Rockaway Pointe's WBAT 44 AM radio station. I'd like to get a statement if that's okay," she said very confidently. "Can that wait a couple of minutes?" the ranger asked Heather. "This girl's clearly in shock." "I'm not in shock," the girl said. "I'm mad," she said, wrapping the blanket around her naked form. That whatever they are, lured me up here after we had one pickle punch at the Hidden Foot Tavern, and then, well, he was very handsome," she said, recalling the man. "I wanted to get to know more about him, but once we got on the trail that came further up the mountain, he started acting strange. I stopped, and the moonlight was shining on him." She stopped to take a breath. "And then something changed about him." "Miss, did he hurt you?" the ranger said, looking at the girl, who appeared to be fine except for the torn-off clothing. "No, he just started growling and saying something like, 'Not again.' And then he howled at the moon and started tearing at my clothes." Both Heather and Tristan looked directly at each other at the same time. "Miss, we'll need you to come to the ranger station with us. We've got some clothing for you, and we'll need you to make a formal statement." "Okay," the girl said, looking around at the people gathered in the clearing. "Watch out for this guy," she said, remembering the hairy forearms and jagged nails that seemed to suddenly appear on him in the moon's full light. "Something isn't right with this guy." The rangers led the girl away, and Heather quickly pushed forward, offering her business card to the girl. The girl took the card as the rangers and the hotel security guard led her to the four-wheel drive Jeep. "Well," Tristan said to Heather, "you still up for that dinner?" And that is where we're going to stop it here, as when you tune in next time, we will be going to one of my most very favorite places and meeting one of my most very favorite Forest of Forbidden Bears. So I will see you again next time at the Hidden Foot Tavern. And until then, I bid you a fond farewell. Take care. This episode has been brought to you by Buns and Such, Tessa Locke's premium bakery and workout bar. Visit anytime during the week and enjoy a free mini workout session and chocolate-filled donut. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you again soon.